All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to get into the blueprints of something we all have, something that shapes our entire world, belief. We're going to explore the very architecture of our convictions, from ancient philosophy all the way to modern neuroscience, to really understand what makes us believe the way we do. Let's get started.
It really all boils down to a question I'm sure you've asked yourself, probably in the middle of a heated family dinner or scrolling through a crazy online debate. Why is it so incredibly hard to change someone's mind? Or, let's be honest, even our own? That's the big puzzle we're going to try and solve together.
So, first things first, what even is a belief? Well, at its most basic level, it's that deep down, personal feeling, that internal stamp of approval that tells us something is true. It's not just a passing thought, it's a core piece of our mental machinery that literally builds the reality we experience every day.
For centuries, philosophers have tried to connect belief to its much more solid cousin, knowledge. The classic way of thinking about this is the justified true belief model. The idea is, for you to truly know something, three things have to happen. You have to believe it has to actually be true, and, this is the really important part, you need a good reason, a justification for believing it. That last piece is what separates real knowledge from just a lucky guess.
But of course, it's never that simple, right? Is it? Things get really interesting with something called the Gettier problem. It's basically a series of thought experiments that show you can have a belief that's both justified and true, but you still wouldn't really call it knowledge. Why? Because you were right for the wrong reasons. It was just a total accident. It just goes to show how slippery the connection between what we believe and what is true can actually be.
Okay, so let's shift gears from abstract philosophy and get into the squishy stuff, the concrete biology. We're going to go inside the brain and take a look at its conviction engine, the actual hardware and software that creates our beliefs. Scientists actually have a name for the study of this process: prediction. And the central idea here is fascinating. Your brain isn't just a passive sponge soaking up information, not at all. It's an active, relentless prediction machine. It's constantly building models of the world, and its number one job is to minimize surprise, to avoid those moments when reality just doesn't line up with what it predicted. And our beliefs? They're the very foundation of that predictive model.
And this whole process isn't just happening randomly up there. As you can see, specific parts of the brain are working together in a network. You've got the ventral medial prefrontal cortex, the VMPFC, which is a huge player. It brings together value and emotion to create that powerful feeling of rightness. Then there's the insula, which links our gut feelings to how strongly we hold a belief. And the amygdala, it's like a highlighter, tagging beliefs tied to intense emotions, making them really, really stick.
Okay, don't let the math on this slide freak you out. The concept behind it, called the Bayesian brain, is actually beautifully simple. It just means our brain is constantly updating its beliefs. It takes what it already believes, its priors, and it weighs that against any new evidence that comes in. Then it spits out a new, updated belief. The key insight here is that our brain almost never starts from a blank slate. It's always building on what it already thinks is true. So if our brain is supposedly updating all the time, why do our beliefs get so, stuck? It turns out our mind doesn't just form beliefs, it builds an entire fortress around them. Let's take a look at the mind's incredibly powerful defense system. The five-star general of this defense system is a concept you've probably heard of: cognitive dissonance. Think of it like a blaring alarm bell in your head. It goes off whenever we try to hold two contradictory ideas at the same time, or when we do something that goes against what we believe. And that feeling? It's deeply uncomfortable, like a mental itch that we are powerfully motivated to scratch, and scratch now.
And this slide shows exactly how we scratch that itch. To get rid of that discomfort, we perform some incredible mental gymnastics. We'll engage in belief disconfirmation, which is a fancy way of saying we just ignore or reject any evidence that proves us wrong. We use effort justification, where we convince ourselves something was amazing because we put so much effort into it. And we use post-decisional strategies, where we focus only on the good things about a choice we made to avoid that awful feeling of buyer's remorse. Now, here's where it gets really wild. Sometimes these defenses are so strong that they do the exact opposite of what you'd think. This is called the backfire effect. It's when you present someone with clear factual evidence against their belief, and instead of changing their mind, they double down. They actually believe their original idea even more strongly. The attack on the belief acts like a booster shot for it. And the power of this conviction engine isn't just in our heads.
It has very real, very profound effects on our bodies. We've all heard of the placebo effect, where a positive belief in a sham treatment, like a sugar pill, can cause real, measurable improvements in health. But what's really telling is its dark twin, the nocebo effect. This shows that a negative belief can create real negative health problems. Our beliefs can literally make us sick or make us well.
So why? Why are our brains built this way, with all these defenses and biases? To find the answer, we need to zoom out, way out, from the individual mind to the long story of our species. Why did we evolve such powerful, stubborn beliefs in the first place? Well, it all comes down to one thing: survival.
According to social safety theory, for our ancient ancestors, being cast out of the tribe wasn't just embarrassing, it was a death sentence. You wouldn't survive long on your own. So our brains evolved to treat social rejection as a threat on the same level as physical pain. And this is where shared beliefs became absolutely critical. They were the social glue, the clear signal that said, I'm one of you, I'm safe, I'm part of the in-group. You can see this evolutionary pressure so clearly when we look at religion. There are two main scientific camps here. The adaptationist view says that religious belief evolved on purpose because groups with shared rituals and beliefs were more cooperative and could outcompete other groups. Then there's the byproduct view, which argues it was more of an evolutionary accident, a side effect of other useful brain functions, like our tendency to see human-like intentions everywhere. And this statistic right here really drives home that group binding effect. A study looked at communes in the 19th century and found that almost 40% of the religious ones were still going after 20 years. Compare that to only 6% of the secular ones. So what's the theory? The demanding, costly rituals required by many religious groups acted as a filter, weeding out anyone who wasn't fully committed and ensuring the group stayed strong and cohesive. Okay, so we're all walking around with this ancient, tribe-oriented brain that's hardwired for social survival. What happens when you plug that brain into the modern internet? Well, it turns out that our new technology can hijack that ancient conviction engine in some really powerful and sometimes scary ways. We all use the term echo chamber, but this slide gives us a really precise definition. It's not just about being surrounded by people who agree with you. That's part of it. But the crucial piece is the network structure itself. It's when those like-minded people are also all densely connected to each other and mostly disconnected from anyone else. That's what creates the sealed-off information loop. And that structure explains exactly how misinformation can spread like wildfire. Think of it like building a campfire. The echo chamber is the tinder, a perfectly dry, highly connected network ready to ignite. A single piece of fake news is the spark. But here's the interesting part. It usually doesn't catch right away. It needs what's called complex contagion. That means you need to see the idea endorsed by a few of your peers before you'll believe it. Once that happens, you get a bandwagon effect, and the belief explodes out into the wider world.
And it's so important to remember this isn't always a passive thing that just happens. This quote highlights a critical point. The very algorithms on these platforms can actively guide us down these rabbit holes. Because they're designed to maximize engagement, to keep you watching, they can end up showing you more and more extreme content, hardening your beliefs with every click. So, we've gone from philosophy deep into the brain, back through our evolutionary past, and landed right here in the digital present. Let's bring it all home. What does understanding this entire architecture of conviction actually mean for you living in this world? Let's just boil it down to the essentials. First, and this is huge, belief is a deep biological and emotional process, not just a simple choice we make. Second, your brain is literally wired to defend its beliefs, to build that mental fortress, not necessarily to find objective truth. Third, our convictions evolved to keep us safe within our social tribes. And finally, modern technology is incredibly good at exploiting all of those ancient biases. Just understanding this, that's the first real step toward intellectual humility. And that leaves us with one final question, something for you to really think about. Now that you know your brain is a conviction engine, not a truth-seeking machine, now that you know it's running on ancient software designed for tribal survival, how will you choose to engage with ideas and with people who hold beliefs that are completely different from your own?